Happy morning, students. How are you all? Hope you all will be fine, isn't it? Okay. Welcome to Blue Stars High Secondary School English online class. Today we are going to see an interesting lesson. Do you know what is that? Yes, the lesson is the summit. What is meant by the summit? In Tamil meaning, we can say Sigaram. So before that, I would like to ask you some questions regarding this lesson. Adventures, expeditions, and explorations are always exciting, isn't it? Especially when they are real, and if it is the first of its kind, it is even more thrilling. The only question that comes to one's mind is what makes one to take up such tasks that involve high risk. It is the spirit of formidable adventure and certain qualities which make them achieve such feats. So here to make an adventure, we should have some qualities. Do you know what are the qualities? Passion, reward, determination, physical fitness, fame, faith, courage, money, drive, vengeance, inspiration, self satisfaction, vision, undying spirit, inner urge, and perseverance. So, these qualities which are required to achieve such a feat. So, here, this prose, the summit, is a slightly adapted except from the ascent of Everest by John Hunt. So in this lesson, Sir Edmund Hillary, so he is the author of this lesson. Sir Edmund Hillary's own words tells how the summit of the Everest was reached. So let us see the lesson. Before going to the lesson, we are going to see about the author. Who is the author here? Edmund Hillary. Sir Edmund Percival Hillary. His full name was Sir Edmund Percival Hillary. Was a New Zealand mountaineer, explorer, and philanthropist. What is my philanthropist? Benefactor. So he was born on 20th July 1919 and he died in 11th January 2008. He was a New Zealand mountaineer, explorer, and philanthropist. He served in the Royal New Zealand Air Force as a navigator during World War II. What's my navigator? Those who works in the ship. So he served in the Royal New Zealand Air Force as a navigator during World War II. Following his ascent of Everest, Hillary devoted himself to assisting the Sherpa people of Nepal through the Himalayan Trust which he established. So, following his ascent of Everest, he devoted himself to assisting to help the Sherpa with the help of Sherpa people of Nepal through the Himalayan Trust which he established. High adventure, no latitude for error, nothing venture, nothing win, view from the summit. The remarkable memoir by the first person to conquer Everest or some of his famous works. So these are the some of his famous works. So now we are going to enter into the lesson. Just your thing, you people are in the Everest. So how do you feel? So just imagine you are in the Everest. Okay, here on May 29, 1953, Hillary and Tenzing began to get ready for the climb of the Everest. So this is the first point. On May 29, 1953, Hillary and Tenzing began to get ready for the climb of the Everest. So they started to get ready for the climb of the Everest on May 29, 1953. Next, Hillary had removed his wet boots and cooked them over the flame of tremors to soften them. So Hillary had removed his wet boots, the boots which he wore, it was wet, and cooked them over the flame of primers to soften them. So it is a primers. So here his shoes were wet and he cooked them over the flame of primers to soften them. Next, what are the things which we taken for expedition? So these are all the basic things which we used for adventure. What is that? Helmet, boots, crampons, harness, snow bar, ice axe, ice screw, carabiner, ascender, main rope, figure eight, tape slings, ice hammer. So these are the basic things which we used for adventure. So while we are going in adventure or while we are traveling, these are the basic things which we have to carry. So here also they took ice axe, crampons and ice hammer were carried during the expedition. So Hillary and Tenzin, they carried during the expedition. And next one, they reached its crest about 28,000 feet. So they reached the crest 20 at its 28,000 feet. The soft snow on ridge was difficult for them, and it also dangerous as it unhold the weight of Hillary and often gave way suddenly. So here the soft snow on ridge, it was very difficult and dangerous for them as it unhold the weight of Hillary. He was a overweight and he often gave way suddenly. So there they found two oxygen bottles. They came to a tiny hollow and found two oxygen of bottles left by the earlier climbers. So here they found two oxygen of bottles which was left by the earlier climbers. When they reached the south summit, Hillary felt a sense of freedom and well being. So, when they reached the south summit, Hillary felt a sense of freedom and well being. Using ice axe, they bit into the steep slope of the ridge. Using the ice axe, they bit into the steep slope of the ridge. A firm thrust of the ice axe would sink it halfway up the shaft, giving a solid and comfortable belay. A firm thrust of the ice axe would sink it halfway up the shaft, giving a solid and comfortable belay. In number of places, the overhanging ice cornices are very large, and in order to escape them, Hillary cut a line of steps down to over the snow-made rocks on the west. So in number of places, the overhanging ice cornices were very large, and in order to escape them, Hillary cut a line of steps down to where the snow-made rocks on the west. The ridge curved away to the right seemed never in ending. The ridge curved away to the right seemed never in ending. They couldn't find where the top was. So the original zest was fading away. The original enthusiasm was fading away. They couldn't find where the top was. So the original zest was fading away. A few more whacks of the ice axe in the firm snow made them to move on top and filled with hope of success. A few more whacks of the ice axe in the firm snow made them to move on top and filled with hope of success. The ridge has taken them 2.5 hours, but it seemed like a lifetime. The ridge has taken them two and a half hours, but it seemed like a lifetime. They shot down They shot down a photograph at Northridge. They shot down a photograph at Northridge. The photograph portrayed the North Pole and the old route, which had been made famous by the struggles of those great climbers of 1920s and 1930s. So the photograph portrayed the North Pole and the old route, which had been made famous by the struggles of those great climbers of 1920s and 1930s. At the North Ridge, Hillary became clumsy-fingered and slow-moving because of lack of oxygen. So he quickly replaced his oxygen set. At the Northridge, Hillary became clumsy-fingered and slow-moving because of lack of oxygen. So he quickly replaced his oxygen set. Tenzing made a little hole in the snow and placed a bar of chocolate, a packet of biscuits, and a handful of lollies to the god of lofty summit. Tenzing made a hole in the snow and placed a bar of chocolate, a packet of biscuits, and a handful of lollies to the god of lofty summit. Hilary too made a hole in the snow and placed the crucifix beside Tenzing's gift. Hilary too made a hole in the snow and placed the crucifix beside Tenzing's gift. Wasting no time, they cramped back on the south peak. Wasting no time, they cramped back on the south peak. While descending the ridge of the South Pole, just short of the tent, Hilary's oxygen ran out. While descending the ridge of the South Pole, just short of the tent, Hilary's oxygen ran out. So he said that they had had enough to do the job, but by no means too much. So he said that they had had enough to do the job, but by means too much, but by no means too much. They crawled into the tent and made their adventure successful. They crawled into the tent and made their adventure successful. There were shouts of joy, handshakes, and hugs for the two heroes. They made the impossible possible. They proved there is no height, no depth that the spirit of man, guided by a higher spirit, cannot attain. There are Everests to be climbed in our daily life. So we can see the picture. By seeing this picture, you can able to understand. This is a Kumba Icefall base camp and Kumba Icefall Camp 1. Just you can watch this picture. Camp 2 Western Farm, CWM Farm. Camp 3 and Camp 4 South Call. This is a hilarious step to reach the summit. Students, if you see this picture, you can imagine like that you are in that place. Yes, isn't it or not? Just imagine you are in the summit and you are in the Everest. How was the feeling? It was really exciting and it was really adventurous, isn't it? Okay, students, next we are going to see the glossary of the lesson. Traverse. To cross a mountain slope horizontally or diagonally. The name given to such a crossing. Traverse means to cross a mountain slope horizontally or diagonally. The name given to such a crossing. Rope links members of climbing party for safety. A party may be referred to as a rope. Rope links members of climbing party for safety. A party may be referred to as a rope. Cornice, overhanging mass of snow or ice along a ridge, shaped like the curling crest of a wave. Cornice, overhanging mass of snow or ice along a ridge, shaped like the curling crest of a wave. One, an enclosed armchair shaped halo situated at the head of a valley. Scrambling means climbing hurriedly on hands and knees. Scrambling, climbing hurriedly on hands and knees. Wriggle, to move with a twist or turn. Wriggle, to move with a twist or turn. Tantalize, tease or taunt. Tantalize, tease or taunt. Crampon, climbing on ice wearing spike shoes. Crampon, climbing on ice wearing spike shoes. So students, in your lesson, there will be 27 paragraphs. So I have just cut short and I have just expanded in this video. Next, we are going to see the summary. Just I will read the summary. It will be able to understand. Summary of this lesson. Just listen, students. If you listen, you can be able to understand because it was given in a very simple English. And this is a summary of the lesson, the summit. The well-organized expedition was launched in the spring of 1953. After a pair of climbers failed to reach the top on May 27, Hillary and Tenzing set out for it early on May 29. By late morning, they were standing on the summit. Hillary and Tenzing reached Everest summit at 11:30 a.m. on May 29, 1953. Edmund Hillary of New Zealand and Tenzing Norgay, a Sherpa of Nepal, became the first explorers to reach the summit of Mount Everest, which at 29,035 feet above sea level is the highest point on Earth. So these two persons, Hillary and Tenzing, they became the first explorers to reach the summit of Mount Everest. Hillary and Tenzing drank lemon juice and got ready for the journey. They tested the oxygen cylinders. Hillary's boots were frozen with cold. He kept them over the fire to soften them. They put on 3 pairs of gloves on their hands and windproof over their body. At 6:30, they moved out of the tent with their oxygen cylinders on them. Tenzing paved way steps towards the ridge and they reached the top of ridge which was about 28,000 feet. The snow was soft over the ridge and it made the route dangerous. After several hundred feet, they came to a hollow. There they found 2 oxygen cylinders which had been left by Evans which, and Bourgillon on their previous attempt. Hillary was happy to find that the cylinders had hundreds of liters of oxygen which they could use for the downward journey. So in this paragraph they have explained about their journey and they found 2 oxygen cylinders which had been left by the earlier climbers. Their name was Evans and Bourgillon. And Hillary was happy to find that the cylinders had hundreds of liters of oxygen which they could use for the downward journey. They continued their journey through the snow was little dangerous. With some difficulties, they reached firmer snow a little higher up. They cut steps on the last steep slopes and walked on with their spike shoes to the south peak. It was then 9 a.m. They cut a seat for themselves and removed the oxygen cylinder which was exhausted. Now they had light weight of 20 lb. The snow was firm and they could cut it with their ice axe. It gave a hope to them. They could make a step large enough to keep their oversized high altitude boots. At this time, they were comfortable with the rope around them. Now they moved one by one. Tenzing was managing the rope around them and Hillary was cutting the steps. In many places, they had difficulty to move because of the overhanging ice. To their east side, there was a large cornice and a crack was between the cornice and the rock. Tenzing was holding Hillary with the rope and Hillary entered the crack and lifted his body off the ground. Using the power of his whole body, Hillary moved backward up the crack. He moved slowly but steadily. Tenzing was leaving the rope and Hillary was moving inch by inch to reach the top of the rock. Then slowly he came out of the crack and reached a wide ledge. Now he felt that nothing would stop him from reaching the top. He stood on the ledge and signaled Tenzing to come up. Tenzing somehow came through the crack and reached the ledge. The ridge seemed to be never ending. They had to cut hump after hump to move forward. Their original enthusiasm gave place to some great struggle. They saw a narrow snow ridge going up to the top. They made few more beating of the ice axe and they reached the top. They felt relieved from the troublesome journey. They shook hands and embraced each other. It was 11:30. They saw some unclimbed peaks like Makalu, Kanchenjunga, and some more peaks in Nepal. After 10 minutes, he changed his oxygen set. Tenzing made a small hole and placed some small articles like a bar of chocolate, a packet of biscuits, and a handful of lollies. They were meant to be gifts to gods. Colonel Hunt, who was the head of the expedition, had given a crucifix to Hilary to take to the top. He too made a small hole and kept the crucifix in the hole. After a few minutes, they moved down. They could not waste the time because oxygen was running out. Finally, they reached the south peak. They moved to the reserve cylinders on the ridge. They carried the extra cylinders and reached the tent at 2 p.m. Then they started descending to the south col. George Lowe and Wilfred Noyes met them with a hot soup and emergency oxygen. They had much work to do there, but it was not too much for them. They had much work to do there, but it was not too much for them. They went to the tent with delight and entered their sleeping bags. They went to the tent with delight and entered their sleeping bags. So this is the summary of the lesson. The summary. Students, if you see the picture, you can able to understand this summary. So, what is the moral of the story? Hard work and diligence are the two sides of the coin success. So, hard work and diligence are the two sides of the coin success. So, students, hope you would have understood the lesson. Okay, students. Thank you, students. Have a good day and be safe, students.